Ryan! Rido! Rido, what you doing, man? It's freezing out here. Get in.
The name's Riddick.
Right, it's obviously the intro to the Riddick review. Alright, aye.
Who wants to know? Did John send you?
John's what?
I don't have time for this.
Now this, on the other hand, I've got time for. Welcome to the world of Riddick, people, a land where swearing, collecting fag packets and wearing wraiths are commonplace. The Riddick franchise has exploded like many, including me, didn't think it ever could. I mean, how the whole hell did this happen? How did all of this come from Pitch Black? It was Pitch Black more like, and that's not me being racist, you'll understand. But never mind all that shite now, as you can see the action is underway and now this review will join it. Obviously, if you've seen the film, you'll assume that the game's going to be good looking. So there's no surprises here, it looks great. We get a lush intro showing off the nifty lighting effects. Intro strangely similar to the new film's beginning, don't understand why that is, so move on because it's not important. Something that alarmed me about Riddick from the get-go. First thing I did was play the training tutorial. It gave me the basics I needed, sure, but the guy that talked to me through the tutorial, well, he swore at me a lot and I thought, now that's a little childish, expletives in a tutorial, but I let it slide. Whatever though, when you start the game, you really won't give much thought to those details because the action starts instantly. Your first of oh so many kills with John's the bounty hunter who's captured you. Now as you'll see, the game incorporates a first person hand to hand fighting style that actually works pretty well. If anyone's ever played Supreme Warrior in the 3DO, you would have been convinced that this style would never bloody work. Now I guarantee you'll belt through the first section of Riddick, you will, you know, yes you will, and this will plant some seeds of doubt in you. Christ, it's been 4 episodes in, I'm beginning to sound like I don't actually like games, but I do though, honest I do. Now for anybody that was slightly miffed by the first section of Riddick, I'm not saying I wasn't happy, I've followed it to the letter, I didn't have any problems with it. It was actually a dream sequence. Now after the first section of Riddick you'll start thinking, either I woke up this morning and brilliant FPSs, or that's a really easy game, and I'm afraid to say it's the latter that's true, I'm afraid lads. Butcher Bay's, it's a walkover, it's a stroll really. I played it on normal setting mind, but normal shouldn't be this much of a pushover. Now I'll ask you to be realistic here, not cynical, realistic. Do you think Universal want a bunch of kids who are so desperate to collect fag packets and Riddick merchandise to be stuck on level 10? Of course they don't. This game experience must generate more interest in the franchise. That's the way they think, and that's why the game's a walkover. But back to the game, it's visually impressive. The use of the third person view when interacting with objects is a sign that the aesthetics of the experience were forefront in the developers' minds. However, again, the third person view highlights a slight problem, that it doesn't actually work. The integration of first and third person isn't seamless. When you gain the shine ability later in the game that allows you to see in the dark, the switching to third person does nothing more than break the flow of the experience. And it highlights actual flaws in the game. For example, if I'm in the middle of a gunfight and I use a med station, the camera switches to third person and the bad guys can't shoot me. This happens a bundle of times throughout the game. So I'll cut to the chase and I'll start calling out the flaws. The AI is crap. A guy can be fooled by running around the box. I've said it already, it's so easy, but it really so is. When you're escaping from Butcher Bay you can't use guns because they're DNA encrypted or something like that, so you use a stun gun. It sounds like a problem, doesn't it? But it isn't, because the stun gun is the most powerful weapon in the game. It takes a guy down with one shot and never runs out of charge. You'll spend a good 2 or 3 hours stunning guys then stepping on their head. You can take down a riot guard, mind you, but if you run around a box a few times, that will get them stumped. Now I apologise in advance to fans of the game because I know there is a lot of them out there, so this will be the last flaw. There are problems with the scripting of the game. When you deviate from the planned route of the game, everything kind of falls apart. In fact, the entire game falls apart. For example, there's a bit you talk to a blue skin, that's a guy with tattoos for those of you who don't know. And the guy tells you that a guard is an item that you want, or you might want. If you kill that guy before he finishes talking and finishes telling you that, the guard he's talking about never actually appears. He just ceases to be. when you're playing the main storyline, when you're in Butcher Bay, when you go down to the mine sections and you come back up onto prison level when you're not supposed to, guards that you've killed start to reappear, and no one really seems that bothered that you just killed 30 odd guys down in the mine, even though you've done it all in front of a camera. Oh, and I forgot the worst point of all, when you're being chased by guards or prisoners, if you run through a load screen, then they don't actually follow you through the load screen, which has to be seen as a crime, surely. A lot of the criticisms I had may seem a bit harsh. If you turn the game on and you put it on hard and you play strictly to the script, you'll say that I'm talking shite, and you probably won't be alone there. But I felt the need to point out a lot of the problems with Riddick because, well, a lot of people didn't seem to want to. I don't think it should be the case that a game has to be as bad as Driver for everybody to shout conspiracy. It looked to me from the outside looking in before I played Chronicles of Riddick that a lot of people had been bitten by the hype monster. It isn't a bad game by any means, but neither is it outstanding or revolutionary in any way. In fact, it's a fairly average first person shooter, looks aside. So, with all that in mind, you can send your complaints into Robert so that I can avoid the abuse.